Okay, I just wanted to make a quick tutorial on how to do some lighting on a scene if you have a background and you want to create some light coming through a doorway or something like that. Anime Studio is kind of it's the way you create shapes is a little bit different, so I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. And you see I have just this PNG file of a living room that I drew in Illustrator and made a PNG. And I want this room to look like it's dark, but then have light coming out of the kitchen and this hallway. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a vector layer above it, and I'm going to select the rectangle tool, and I'm leaving the autofill and the stroke off. And this is one of the kind of quirky things about Anime Studio. You have to draw the shape, and then I'm going to draw the areas that I want to punch out also. So I'm going to draw a doorway here and a doorway here, just roughly. Just so we have the punch out, or, you know, the holes. And then I'm going to hit U, or actually, I'll just go over here so you can see. This is create shape, but you can also hit U. And I'm going to select the main square, and then holding shift down, select the doorways. And that makes the holes in the shape. So then we can verify the shape by pressing spacebar. And that's black. And I'm actually going to change the fill to about 50%. That looks pretty good. That looks like the room's dark now. And just hit OK. So if I render this, you can already see that the kitchen looks like the light is on and the hallway light is on. Then we just really have to just go in here and change the shapes a little bit. So I'll hit A to add the shape, and then I can just drag this out like that, and do the same thing over here. Just add a point there, and then just drag the points to where I need. So it's not necessarily masking, it's more of just, this is how Anime Studio handles shapes. And it's a little bizarre if you haven't done it before. If you're used to Illustrator or some other graphics program, it's a little bit different. And then if I render that out, then you have light coming through. One of the problems that I have with this, though, is that it's too sharp. Usually light will fade off, and the other way that you can do this is I'm going to actually delete these holes, and I'm going to create another vector, and we'll just call this light. And this is just another technique. It's just a different way to do it. And I will draw a shape, and I'll go ahead and hit U, or click the create shape button, hit spacebar, and then I'm also going to go into the effects while it's selected and hit gradient, and it has a gradient in here, and I'm going to move this white over, create another white. It'll just automatically fill that color right there. Oops. Delete that, select this one and hit delete also. And then on this one, I'm going to click on the color and turn the opacity all the way down so it's see-through. So we have one that's full and one that's see-through. And always check allow transparency. So well, hit Q. We'll actually turn it down this way so the light is at the top and then it fades. And if I double click on this layer and change this to, I believe it's overlay, and apply, we'll hit OK. Yeah, I think that's it. This is a really odd thing, but the white doesn't, when you're using overlay, it doesn't show up great. So we have to make it a couple times. So I'm going to change the frame just a little bit to where I want it to be. And and add some points to make it come out into the living room. I'll just stretch it all the way out here to here. And I'll hit Q, and I'll go ahead and move the gradient so it's white up in the kitchen and fades out into the living room and to black right here, which is actually transparent. So if I render it, now it's kind of coming out, but for some reason it's white doesn't show up super clear on here, so we'll have to select it, copy, and paste, and it'll paste another one on there. There's actually 2 images on there, and we'll go ahead and paste again, and you can see that it's getting brighter and brighter, and if I render it out, it's starting to look like actual light coming through. It's actually brightening up enough to see into the kitchen. So you can just keep pasting until you think it looks right. And that looks pretty good, but now at least we have a little bit of a fall off when you do that. So that's kind of a better way to do that. And the same principle applies to, let's go ahead and delete all these. I'm just going to delete all those. Move this picture over to this side of the living room, and you can see there's a lamp there. You can do the same exact thing on the light. This time I'm just going to use the blob brush tool and paint. Well, let's do this. Let me try this out. I'm going to change this color so it's full, it's opaque, and then we'll change the color to white also. So see how that's white, and if I render it, see how that's looking like a highlight now? But what we want to do is blur this layer. So I'll double click it, and blur radius I'll set to 15, pretty high, and apply. So now that we have a white strip painted on this chair, and if I render it, because the layer is being blurred so much, there's a highlight there. It's hard to see. Let me do that a couple more times. I'll just paint a couple times on there and render, and then you can see it's getting lighter and lighter. So if I were to paint certain parts of this like that, and on the couch, and around the lamp. This is just real sloppy, but it's just so you can see that you can start adding light into places in your picture if you want. So if I do this, you can start adding light to things. And this also works if I took if the lights were on, if I render that, this is because it's overlay. But if I change this to, I think, add or screen and apply, now it's a little white. So let's select all and delete that. So I can change the brush radius, make it a little smaller, and then I can just make highlights on the furniture if I want to. Make it look kind of leathery or, you know, shiny. And render. And you can see it's starting to add highlights. And then you can also turn the blur radius down. So if that looks too blurry, double click, change this back down. We'll do like 7. Apply that. If I render it, see, now it's really shiny. But you can find a happy medium somewhere. Maybe 12. Kinda. That's not bad. And let's draw I'm going a little crazy with it. See what that does. Oh, the chair's kind of shiny. But that's just a couple of techniques that I thought I'd share with you today, just on light and highlighting and coloring. And that's it. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them down below. Thanks.